There's good news and there's bad news. The Hunter Vision is back, which I'm sure many of you are not excited for. The Forge now can be used for longer, and you can now only have 250 friends on your friends list. Let's go ahead and get into these 2.4.0 patch notes for the Psycho Frontier. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you did, and subscribe for future content. Alright, Jaeger starts off by saying, "Hey prospectors, community team here once again to bring you patch notes for 2.4.0. Our previous patch notes so far have prioritized weapon and gear balancing, but there is other feedback and additional reports from our players that need to be addressed as well. This patch will primarily focus on a mixed batch of changes and community pain points that we'd like to address sooner rather than later. Along with a hefty list of bug fixes, we are having internal discussions about additional changes for the Forge, armor, and power progression. Of course, we are also taking a very close look at our matchmaking system for any possible future changes. With that said, let's take a look at what's in store for patch 2.4.0. First up on the list of changes is friends list limitation. Hey there friends, can we call you friends? If so, that's quite literally a fix for you. In order to address internal issues caused by having an exceptionally high number of friends on your friends list, aren't we the popular one, eh? We will be introducing a hard limit to how many the list can contain. Currently, we are setting this limit to 250 friends, which should be more than enough for the most of you. The friends list should have behaved normally before reaching that threshold. For those who already have more than 250, some of your friends in the game will be removed automatically during startup to accommodate this limit. You will of course be able to re-invite them after deleting some others. Sorry for the inconvenience. If you have reached 250 after this change, you will not be able to add more until you delete some. Now, I never had any issues with having more than 250 friends. I only play with about the same 10 or 15 of them, so for any of you out there that will have to be adding and removing some friends for your friends list, good luck to you, and I hope you don't have to end any friendships. Next up is weapons and gear. Although this is a minor patch for balance, we do plan to have more changes coming in patch 2.5.0. Based on some of the feedback we've seen in our community channels. Weapon and armor balance is always something we are keeping a close eye on, but we do have a little something for you in the meantime. We are re-enabling Hunter Vision with this update, a perk that you can get from the Alien Forge on Tharis Island, and that has been disabled for a while now. We have fixed the sound cue for Hunter Vision. You will now emit a constant noise while Hunter Vision is active that all other players in the area can hear. This should help make the vision more balanced. Indirect vision range has been reduced from 3,000 to 1,500 when enemies are not within normal line of sight. Direct vision range has been reduced from 8,000 to 6,000 when enemies are within normal line of sight. I know not everyone was a big fan of the Hunter Vision perk for your helmets from the Forge, and I think a big reason for that was that you could have it on infinitely and there was no cooldown. It had a very large range, which they seem to have reduced here, with indirect vision range being reduced from 3,000 to 1,500 and the direct vision range from 8,000 to 6,000. But I still think a big issue with this perk is that there is no cooldown, and even with having a sound cue that people can hear, you still have constant wall hacks. One of the things I was hoping for personally was that they'd make it maybe like if you've ever played Apex Legends, like a Bloodhound scan, where it emits like a wave that you can see people through a wall for a certain time, and then it disappears and there's a cooldown on it. I think the vision is still going to be needing more nerfs in the future, but this is a step in the right direction, and I hope they continue to address any problems people have with it. Tharis Island. There's been some improvements to the general rattiness of the Tharis Caverns. These are just our first steps towards improving Tharis Island, and you can expect more changes in future patches. A number of dark corners have been smoothed and or illuminated. There's been a general reduction of stuff to hide behind in the pit. A handful of locations that caused you to die from the void when trying to pick up gear have been adjusted so you can claim your hard-earned rewards without fear of a big one-way drop. Now, I will say Tharis Island definitely is a ratty map. And doing these small changes where they've improved the darkness of corners, they're removing some of the boxes and crates to hide behind is a big impact. I think the general consensus of most of the player base will still be that there are lots of rats on this place because there are so many areas where it is so dark. So whenever I go there with my friends, we tend to just stay out and about around the quarry and by the HQ and by the labs. So we don't usually tend to go down into the forge itself when we go to fight people. But I think these are definitely good changes that will help adjust the gameplay and move it into the right direction. Storm on Tharis Island. We increased the frequency of the storm on Tharis Island so the forge will be available more often. Time before storm phases has been reduced for 9 minutes for now, but we are looking into other additional adjustments in the future. This is a humongous change. I know on Reddit there have been a lot of people asking for the forge to be powered by the Nick oil canisters during the daytime in order to try to make it so you're not waiting for 20-25 minutes for the storm to start, sitting down there watching TikToks and YouTube videos this whole time. And I think this is definitely a good change. I don't know if they would still do the Nick oil canister change to make it available during the day, because the storm will be so active now that it doesn't make that much of an impact. I hope, though, that there is still plenty of opportunities for people to spawn in. Otherwise, you'll have players that are just sitting down in the forge 3-4 times at a time in one session, and they're able to craft, a couple triple sets of gear. But I do definitely think this is a great change, and I hope to see more from them in the future in this subject. Alright, here they've got some miscellaneous changes. We'll just read through them really quickly. I don't think there's anything crazy important here. We have changed the player report workflow, simplifying the whole player report process. This is based on your feedback, so make sure to tell us how it feels now. I've never had any issues with reporting players other than with the email. I just put @gmail.com, and then I just put in whatever I think the player's cheating or whatever. But other than that, I think it's basically the same. You'll be able to walk on barbed wire and thorny vines sitting on top of walls and fences, preserving your precious little feet from unnecessary lacerations. Note from Tsuji, lead level designer, they still won't apply damage for now. So I think this comes to the fact that people are finding ways to get up and about and around places, especially on warehouse and on admin on Crescent Falls. The fact that they say for now that damage won't be applied, I do think that people are definitely going to find workarounds to getting on top of fences and such. So I think in the future they definitely will make it so there's damage taken whenever you're on these barbed wires. We have reduced the fog in some parts of our maps. That's a great change. Visibility is always important in these games, and I think one of the problems in this game is the visibility. Script stack size increased from 1,000 to 10,000. That's a good QOL change. Loot value from the Crusher Caverns has been increased with new loot containers. As a result, the amount of monsters was adjusted as well. Cherry on top, the boss was made harder as well. Well, one of the big things I think is the dungeons are not worth it at all. With the amount of loot that you get spread across even 2-3 people is not enough to make it worth going there and spending 20 to 30 minutes clearing the dungeons out. But if these loot values from the Crusher Caverns are increased well enough to make it more worth it, I can definitely see it being a good change. Some vanity items got their price adjusted. That's always good. Maybe it's to the lower end. That may make things a little bit cheaper. There are some small adjustments on how the matchmaking works for both trusted and untrusted servers. Now, they didn't go into specifics here for this change. I just hope that whenever I start to run Tharis, that I run into less trios and more duos or solos, depending on what I'm queuing. Last but not least, we've got a long list of bug fixes coming from Jaeger. I'm going to go ahead and highlight some of the more important ones. I think I've counted over 50 total here, so I'm going to try to keep this a little brief. First and foremost, I see that the kinetic Arbiter sound bug got fixed. Swapping weapons with it will no longer act as a makeshift sound dampener and remove environmental sounds. I'll go ahead and throw a quick clip on the screen so you can see kind of what that sounded like, and hopefully we won't have this issue anymore in the future. I also see here that the Crusher that was supposed to roam around the skeleton on Crescent Falls came back from its break and is back on the payroll. Now, I know that they added a Crusher to the Fallen Tree, and I think that was a great decision by them to add a little bit more rotational awareness and make people think about where they're going specifically. I think adding one to Skeleton is good. That's a high traffic area where a lot of people are doing different climb ups and going through the cave to get into Oasis and into the Starport area. So this will definitely make players think a little bit more about their pathing. So I definitely think this is a great addition, and I'm glad that it's back in the game. Now we've also got the laser drill carrying backpacks with it as intended, and those won't clip through the surface anymore. Now, if you ever kill anyone on a drill, you know that the backpacks will be floating in space, kind of like the ones at the evacs. So now you just got to make sure that you're looting a little bit quicker, maybe throwing your bags off the side. That way you can still loot after the drill leaves. Definitely makes sense logically that you would not be able to loot floating backpacks. So yeah, great change. Most importantly here, we finally have them fixing the PvP climb up. They say we have fixed another round of out of bounds spots and spots that cause trouble on our maps, including the infamous PvP rock on Crescent Falls, along with some other fixes on the maps. Now, I don't know what other places they might be talking about here, but I definitely know PvP rock has been a big contention point for a lot of players, especially PvPers. I definitely think that the spot is very broken, and with how they fixed it the first time, there was still an exploit to get around and up and on top of it, which people were not very happy about. So now that it's been hopefully fully patched, that this is a great change, and I'm happy for it. Finally, one of the worst bugs in existence, the UI scale changing whenever you check a dropped backpack. You will no longer be able to see every single item that is in a backpack at once now, which I am more than happy with. I remember the items would be so small, I'd need to turn on the magnification or turn up the UI scale myself to see anything that was in there. So make sure that now you are scrolling all the way through the backpacks. You will no longer be able to see every single thing inside. And yeah, great change. Lastly, there are some known issues that Jaeger is aware of, just to let the community know that they aren't forgetting about them. First, we've got weapons. There are multiple hit registration issues present at the edge of the AoE when shooting with the comrade. No reg hit markers and kill markers reports are being investigated by the team. As for crafting, in the gear printer menu while having print in progress, there is a visual bug showing the print button as still available if you have all materials for a craftable item. Next, we've got Fortuna Pass, claiming an archetype's displays duplicate body parts beside it, chest, gloves, and boots. And we've got, after completing one level purchase in the Fortuna Pass, the next consecutive purchase displays the icons of items from the previous purchase. And lastly, we've got gear visibility. In match, you don't see your own backpack, can be evident from emoting, but can see other prospector backpacks. Alright everyone, that is the end of the patch 2.4.0 patch notes for the Cycle Frontier. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you want to see any more content, and leave a comment down below if you have any suggestions for any kinds of videos. I will also have a link for the patch notes and my Twitch. I stream every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 3 p.m. EST sharp, and I hope you guys have a good day. Peace out.